Hi friends. Please subscribe and help me get my first 1,000 subscribers. It's one click for you, but for me it's a huge encouragement and motivation. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. I hope you enjoy this story. Let's go. I've never been the kind of guy who buys into slick marketing or flashy sales pitches. Quite the opposite, actually. Working as a project manager for a large construction firm here in Denver, I am wired to look at the structural integrity of things, to obsess over blueprints and cost estimates, and to double-check every single detail before signing off. I trust concrete and steel, not promises. But when my wife Jessica started talking about this new vacation ownership project, a timeshare down in Las Vegas, I felt a shift. It was not really about the idea of an endless vacation, it was about her. I had not seen her that lit up in years. Her eyes were sparkling in a way that was almost hypnotic. Looking at her, I did not see the routine of our 10-year marriage. I saw a glimpse of what we could be again. Instead of the gray grind of the suburbs, I saw neon lights, concerts, 5-star steakhouses, and maybe, just maybe, that rush of adrenaline we had when we were just kids in love. We were sitting in our living room in Highlands Ranch, the Rockies visible in the distance through the patio doors, when she first slapped that glossy brochure onto the coffee table. The pages were filled with high-resolution photos of basketball courts, infinity pools, luxury spas, and private terraces with panoramic views of the Strip. She traced the amenities with a manicured fingernail, her voice trembling with excitement. "Look at this, Jake," she urged. "It says right here it's a smart buy. We pay for a share of the property, which gives us the right to use our own luxury apartment for several weeks a year. And the rest of the time? We can rent it out through the management company. We get a passive income stream and a guaranteed vacation spot. It pays for itself." "It sounds great, Jess, but..." I started to push back, my contractor brain looking for the cracks in the foundation, even if I could not spot the scam immediately. She jumped up from the couch instantly. "Oh, come on. This is like a ticket to a better life. Just imagine, no more stressing over where to go for holidays. We'll always have our little nest in Vegas waiting for us. Just the two of us, or with friends, or even with kids down the line if we decide to go that route. It's an investment in us." I watched her flip through the pages with that nervous, happy energy. It reminded me of when we were first newlyweds, obsessing over Zillow listings and dreaming big. I think that nostalgia is exactly what made my defenses crumble. At one point, she leaned over me to point at a floor plan. Her hair brushed against my ear, and I could hear her breathing, fast, shallow, excited. She was wearing a silk robe, nothing else. I caught the scent of her vanilla perfume, and suddenly, the logical part of my brain shut down. We started kissing right there over the sales literature. I am not gonna lie, there was a spark there we had not felt in a long time, a mix of intimacy and something new and dangerous. It felt like we had shaved 10 years off our ages. She pulled my t-shirt over my head, I let her robe drop to the floor, and we completely forgot about the investment potential for the next hour. Later that evening, lying there tired and stuck in that happy half-asleep haze, we circled back to the conversation. I whispered, "Okay. If this makes you happy, let us do it." Yeah, that was the moment I folded. My gut was screaming, read the fine print. Check the Better Business Bureau reviews. But my heart was saying, look at how happy she is, you see, and not kill this vibe. I went with my heart. We finalized the deal, signed the mountain of paperwork, wired the down payment, and got our owner passes. The management team was incredibly slick. The sales reps flashed bright white smiles and assured us we had made the choice of a lifetime. Our first trip to Vegas as owners happened just 2 weeks after the ink was dry. When we walked into the unit, I have to admit, I was impressed. It was not Caesar's Palace, sure, but it was solid. The layout was smart, a living room with a floor-to-ceiling window facing the city lights, a tidy master bedroom with a king-sized bed, and a terrace with a small plunge pool that was separated from the neighbor's unit by a privacy wall. It was a shared lounge zone, small, but plenty for us. We spent a week there, and I look back on it as one of the most romantic times we've had in years. Jessica would drop her robe by the pool, teasing me while I lay on a chaise lounge with a glass of Cabernet. Sometimes, we'd both slip into the water late at night, after the desert heat finally broke. We moved slowly, just holding each other, and I remember pressing against her wet skin, feeling like I had won the lottery. We hit the blackjack tables, ate at overpriced Italian spots, and sometimes we would not even make it to the bedroom, leaving a trail of clothes across the living room floor. At that moment, I thought, this is the life. No emails, no job sites, no alarm clocks. Jessica walked around our apartment in nothing but a sheer negligee, shooting me these mischievous looks that made me chase her around the kitchen island. We were admiring each other like it was a second honeymoon. I will not get into the graphic details, but my perspective on the timeshare shifted completely. Instead of money down the drain, I saw it as a legitimate investment in our marriage. Back in Denver, I walked around the job site with a stupid grin for weeks, just wondering how soon we could get back down there. But reality has a way of creeping back in. Work exploded. I took lead on a massive commercial project downtown that required me to be on site 6 days a week. Jessica, on the other hand, had a much freer schedule. About a month later, she dropped it on me casually. You know, I was thinking of flying down to our Vegas place for a couple of days with Ashley. Just to recharge the batteries. I nodded, chuckling as I packed my lunch for work. If I could, I'd be right there with you. Go for it. Have fun. Just do not get into too much trouble without me. She smiled back, but it was tight. A little forced. I thought it was weird for a split second, but I brushed it off. I had concrete pours to schedule. She came back a few days later, noticeably energized but strangely vague on the details. She mentioned a spa day, maybe a new cocktail bar. When I pressed for stories, she gave me generic answers. Oh, same old stuff. We talked, ate too much, sat by the pool. Then came the next trip. This time, she told me in advance that she was suffocating in suburbia, and needed to breathe some free air. When I tried to joke about it, asking what exactly was so magical about the Nevada desert, she got defensive. Well, I see, not just sit here in Colorado waiting for you to finish building a skyscraper, can I? That was the first time I felt a prick of anxiety. We bought this place to use together, and now she was flying out there for the second or third time solo. With a girlfriend, she claimed. But I did not have any smoking gun. I saw the credit card statement, charges for drinks, expensive champagne service. She said, it was a bachelorette party for a friend of a friend. Even though we had not received a wedding invite. I saw charges for new clothes, but I did not know how that connected to Vegas. I just had to trust that she was blowing off steam. However, the weirdness started piling up. Jessica started taking her iPhone everywhere, even into the shower, so she would not miss a call. If the phone rang, she'd bolt into the guest room, acting like she was shy. A few times, I glanced over her shoulder and saw texts from a name I did not recognize, but the second I got close, the screen went black. One Tuesday, I came home early and walked into the wet bar area. There were 2 wine glasses sitting there. One in the sink, rinsed but wet, and one still on the counter with a lipstick stain. I did not want to interrogate her, but my stomach dropped. Who was she drinking with? When I asked, did we have company, she stammered, oh yeah, the neighbor from down the street popped in. She did not even bother to name which neighbor. I did not want to be that paranoid, jealous husband. I kept telling myself our marriage was rock solid, that she was just bored, that she needed to feel alive and independent. But deep down, the fear was taking root. What if she is not just resting? The tipping point came when I was sorting through a stack of mail on the kitchen counter. I found a statement from the timeshare management company. It listed a charge for a guest authorization fee. The name authorized on the pass was not Ashley. It was a name I had never seen before. When I confronted Jessica, she waved it off like a nuisance. Oh, that? Ashley forgot her ID, so we had to put it under her cousin's name to get him into the pool area. It's just paperwork. My doubt turned into full-blown alarm when she announced she was heading back to our little paradise for the 3rd time in a month. She said, I just need a deep tissue massage, and the girls and I are meeting up. I stopped listening to the details. Something clicked in my brain, that's it. I have to know. She left early in the morning. She pecked me on the cheek, but it felt cold, dutiful. I watched her Uber pull away, and a wave of resolve hit me so hard I almost shook. I pulled out my phone and booked the next Southwest flight to Las Vegas. To hell with this, I muttered, dialing a Lyft to take me to D.I.A. If she's flying solo, I think I'll surprise her. I could use some spa and relaxation too. The whole flight, I was a wreck. My mind was running through a dozen scenarios, ranging from the innocent, she's just partying too hard with the girls, to the gut-wrenching, she has a lover. My heart was hammering against my ribs, but I knew I had no choice. If I did not see the truth with my own eyes, the suspicion would eat me alive. I landed, grabbed a rental car, and tore down the highway toward our building. It was late evening when I walked into the lobby. I bypassed the front desk completely. I did not want to be announced. I had my owner's key fob. The closer I got to our unit's door, the louder the music got. Heavy bass, the shrieking laughter of drunk women. This definitely was not a chill spa evening. I paused for a second outside the door, trying to steel myself. My blood was boiling. Did she throw a rager? Or are these total strangers? I tapped my key card against the lock. The light turned green. I could hear someone yelling, "Shots! Shots!" I pushed the door open and froze. The living room was packed with half-naked people. Empty liquor bottles littered the floor. Someone killed the volume on the music for a second. I saw two guys practically pinning a girl against the wall, laughing. Someone was mixing cocktails on my granite countertop. It looked like a frat house orgy. And this was in the apartment I was paying for. My eyes immediately scanned the room and locked onto the glass sliding doors leading to the terrace. Through the glass, I saw Jessica. She was wearing a tiny bikini, sitting on the edge of the plunge pool, wrapping her legs around a guy who looked like a personal trainer. He had his hands all over her, looking at her like he owned the place, and her. Their body language was intimate. Way too intimate for there to be any doubt about what was happening. My chest went cold. All those months of guessing, of trying to be the cool husband, crystallized into a bitter reality. She had been bringing a guy here. And judging by the comfort level, this was not the first time. I took a step forward, and someone from the crowd finally clocked me. It must have been obvious I was not on the guest list. The bass dropped out as someone killed the music, and a few people froze mid-motion. I caught looks of confusion and genuine fear. It was like the whole room instantly sobered up and realized, oh, this is about to get ugly. Jessica turned around. For a split second, I wanted to look away, to spare myself the image, but I forced myself to stare right at her face. Her champagne glass slipped from her fingers and splashed into the pool water. I watched the color drain from her face. Maybe she did not expect me to actually show up? Maybe she thought I was too stupid to figure it out? I walked past the guests, who parted like the Red Sea. I stopped just a few feet away from her. The silence in that room was deafening. So, I asked, my voice dangerously quiet as I tried to keep a lid on my temper. Is this what you wanted? You really decided to screw around in the condo I paid for? She mumbled something incoherent, trying to cover herself with a towel. Her gentleman caller, let us call him Caleb, smirked and stepped forward, puffing out his chest. He was clearly trying to mark his territory, posturing like he was the alpha male of the resort. I did not give him a chance to open his mouth. I stepped in and threw a solid right hook straight to his jaw. The guy went down hard, slipping on the wet tile. A couple of girls screamed, and the room gasped. Jessica shrieked, but I was way past the point of listening. Caleb tried to prop himself up on his elbows, groaning, "Hey bro, what the hell?" I delivered a second kick to his ribs. Not enough to break them, but enough to wind him. I was not hearing a word he said. My internal monologue was just screaming, how many times has she brought this dirtbag here? Suddenly, the party vibe was dead. People started scrambling for their stuff, shoving feet into shoes, grabbing purses. They knew if the cops showed up, this would be a mess. Jessica stood by the pool, looking paler by the second. I was done listening to her spin. When she tried to step toward me, reaching for my arm, I recoiled. "Can we talk about this?" she stammered. You do not understand." "Shut up," I cut her off. "Save the lies for someone who buys them. I am done." I stormed out into the hallway to find building security. I went down to the lobby, found the night manager, and explained the situation calmly. "I am the owner, there is an unauthorized party in my unit, and I want everyone evicted immediately." The manager looked terrified, but once I flashed my deed and ID, he realized I was the one calling the shots. We went back up with a massive security guard in tow. I pointed at Jessica. She trashed the place. She has 10 minutes to pack her bags. After that, anything left inside goes in the dumpster. The guests had already cleared out, some of them sprinting down the fire escape. Jessica was frantic, running around grabbing her things, clutching her phone, blubbering, "You're rereading this all wrong. It was just a party, I did not think." I tuned her out. If she thought she could fly down to our love nest and hook up with some random guy, that said everything I needed to know. The 10 minutes flew by. Caleb had vanished the second he could stand up, wiping a bloody lip and cursing under his breath. Jessica, wearing jeans over her wet swimsuit, shoved the last of her things into a duffel bag and stood before me, looking like a trapped animal. "Let us talk at home," she whispered. "Please, Jake. Do not make a scene." "A scene?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Take a look around, Jess. The scene is over." She tried to grab my sleeve, but I brushed her off. The security guard was watching us closely, probably ready to intervene if it got physical, but I had no intention of touching her. I did not want to give these strangers a show. 10 minutes are up," I said coldly. "Get out." We flew back to Denver on separate flights. I booked the first seat out of McCarran to avoid seeing her. She must have caught a red-eye later. I spent the entire flight staring out the window, lost in a black hole of thoughts. I felt hollowed out and furious. The image of her at the pool kept playing on a loop, her hands on another man, the laughter, the drinks. I was not there, and she did not care. Everything we had built, all the trust, she had crumpled it up and tossed it away like a candy wrapper. When I landed in Denver, I did not go home. I drove straight to a friend's place and called a divorce attorney I knew from a previous construction contract. I did not hesitate. Maybe a year ago I could not have imagined leaving her, but now, only one word echoed in my head: betrayal. We promised to be honest, and she had been laughing behind my back. After the meeting with the lawyer, I went to the house in Highlands Ranch and changed the locks. I installed new smart locks. I knew locking her out was technically risky before filing papers, but I did not care. I needed to feel secure. I wanted to scrub our space clean of her lies. That evening, I sat in the living room looking at old photos, us on the beach in California, her laughing in a bikini, me holding her. I remembered her whispering that I was the best man she'd ever known. It was all smoke and mirrors. She called me the next day, screaming that she could not get into the house, that I was acting crazy and being a tyrant. I did not say a word. I just hung up and texted her, "All communication goes through my attorney. We have nothing to discuss." People love to talk about second chances. But how do you give a chance to someone who turned your property into a brothel and invited a crowd to watch? I saw no point in closure talks. Her words would not change the facts. I saw the betrayal with my own eyes. The divorce took a couple of months. We settled on me keeping the house and the bulk of the assets, not because of some prenup, but because she knew fighting me would destroy her reputation. She just wanted it over. The timeshare stayed in my name, but honestly, I hated the word timeshare by then. I just wanted to sell it and wipe that episode from my memory like a bad dream. At first, I had nightmares. I daydream I was walking into the apartment and hearing that club music, seeing strangers everywhere. I wake up in a cold sweat. But it got easier. I started hitting the gym hard, got back into hiking 14ers with my buddies. It was funny, but I felt this surge of energy that used to go into maintaining our lifestyle. Now, I had freedom. A while later, I met a woman named Emma. It was random, at a coffee shop near REI, right after I'd come back from a trail run. She saw my muddy boots and backpack and asked where I'd been. We started talking about altitude, the silence of the peaks, the grind of the climb. She had this genuine smile that made me feel a spark I had not felt in a decade. It was easy. No games, no forced laughter. We did not rush. We grabbed dinner, caught a few movies. I liked that she respected my space and did not try to manage my life. With Emma, I felt a sense of peace that had been missing from my marriage for years. One evening, walking along the Platte River, I told her the whole ugly truth about the divorce. I thought she might be horrified or bombard me with questions. Instead, she just nodded calmly, squeezed my hand and said, "We all make mistakes, Jake. The important thing is that you moving forward." Something inside me unclenched. I knew this time would be different. Months passed. The legal dust settled, and I never saw Jessica again. I did not need to. I ignored every attempt she made to explain or get closure. When someone uses you like that, trusting them again is just handing them a loaded gun. Eventually, I unloaded that cursed timeshare. I practically gave it away just to stop paying the fees, but I did not care. I just wanted to cut the last string tying me to the past. Walking out of the title company's office, I felt lighter than air. It was like dropping a heavy pack after a 20-mile ruck. I went back to my house, my actual home. It did not feel haunted by lies anymore. I donated a bunch of the old furniture, repainted the bedroom to get rid of the colors we had picked together, and set up a gear wall in the living room for my climbing equipment. One day, I posted a photo from a summit, me standing on a peak with my arms wide open. I captioned it, "If you play behind my back, do not expect me to turn around." It was my way of telling the world I was not the naive husband anymore. I realized that despite the pain, I had found freedom. Jessica did not own my head or my heart anymore. Looking at an old picture of us by that pool, I felt nothing. No anger, no love. Just indifference. That's when I knew I had let go. Life opened a new door. Emma smiled at me across the kitchen island, and there was no subtext, no hidden agenda. One night, I invited her over for dinner. We made something simple, pasta with basil. Her hair fell into her face, and I laughed, tucking a strand behind her ear. She looked at me with such warmth that I leaned in and kissed her. It felt real. It felt grounded. We sat on the new couch talking for hours. She asked how I bounced back so fast, and I was honest. I'm still learning how to trust. But with you, I do not feel like I have to look over my shoulder. The conversation faded into comfortable silence, and her hand rested gently on my chest. When we made love, it was not about performance or wild passion. It was deep connected. For a second, I felt like she was actually seeing me, the real me, not an ATM or a safety net. I felt accepted, no secret parties, no hidden texts, no excuses. Now, looking back, I can see clearly. Yeah, the Vegas timeshare disaster was painful and humiliating. I was betrayed. I was played. But it is better to face the ugly truth and be free than to live in a fantasy where every day brings a new doubt. My home is bright and open now. No heavy secrets in the closets. On the living room wall, there is a framed photo of me on a mountain, holding a climbing rope. Next to me is a woman who does not play games. And I know what we have is solid. Sometimes friends ask if I was too harsh on my ex-wife, cutting her off without a final talk. But what was there to listen to? Adults do not do things like that by mistake. A repeated pattern of trips, secret calls, and another man in my house is not an accident. I know exactly how my story ended, with a period. I did not leave an ellipsis. I do not regret it for a second. The pain was real, but it burned off, and took the lies with it. I reckon that is the best possible ending. I look at the future now without carrying the baggage of deceit. And if anyone asks if I feel bad about not hearing her out, I tell them, she made her choice. I made mine. Never be the guy who forgives just because it's convenient. That's my final word. And my personal belief is that you have to live with an open heart, but you also have to know that nobody has the right to drag your dignity through the mud. And that concludes our story today. Thank you for watching to the end. If you liked it, please give it a like and leave a comment. Also, we are always happy to discuss any comments you may have. See you in the next video.